Welcome, welcome. So excited for this panel. So a lot of interesting topics. Shall we start with introduction, then maybe name, job titles, briefly what you do. Introduce yourself. Katie, would you like to start? Yes.
Hi, everyone. I'm Katie Jones. I'm the Managing Director for EMEA at a company called Pixability. We do contextual targeting, brand suitability on YouTube.
Hi everyone, I'm Annika. I oversee Magnite's brand direct business in EMEA, so I help brands kind of set up their omnichannel strategies, plan CTV, but also find solutions for the cookieless future.
Hello everyone, I'm Dan. I'm at Index Exchange. We are a global ad exchange, one of the biggest, and I work on the demand team, so we look after agency relationships. So that spans into partnerships as well as the day-to-day transacting of media.
Hi everyone, I'm Carrie Condino. I'm a B2B research director at MTM. I specialize in tech and media, so I talk to marketers, advertisers, agencies about all the topics we would talk about today.
Hi everyone, I'm Grazia. I'm performance director at Kinesso. I work across multiple channel, realizing plan and optimization for our client.
Amazing. Okay, so excited to have you here. So we can't have a panel talking about exploring programmatic without talking about the elephant in the room. Okay, so cookies. The cookieless future seems now around the corner. And what does this mean for marketing, Daniel? And what innovative approaches do you recommend they adopt to ensure continued addressability?
Yeah, it's a great question. There's so much going on at the moment. So without diving into too much of the cookie deprecation and what it means for the sandbox, it's clear there's no front-runner solution that will remedy the demise of the cookie in isolation. So it's more likely going to be a portfolio of solutions that the marketer is going to have at their disposal to tap into. Mm-hmm. I can say that from an index exchange perspective, what we've seen is that the contextual solutions have been really, really reliable and scalable. And contextual, it comes in different forms, right? So what we've seen the first phase look like over the last year is a move away from the open market to deals and transacting in a private marketplace. That's meant that we've got closer to buyers, and buyers have subsequently got closer to publishers. Yeah. So they're starting to cherry pick domains and publishers that match for a contextual fit to their brand and performance objectives. It sounds rudimentary, but it shined a light on the supply that they were buying, which is really, really important. The next phase that we're seeing is exchanges like ourselves partner with contextual vendors themselves. Then we can start to enrich the requests that we're sending out to buyers with more data, which is interesting because these relationships have previously sat on the demand side and now shifting over a little bit and coming to focus on the supply side. So this is data that emanates directly from the page itself, so it's cookieless and it's compliant. And there's swathes of it. If you think about the open web and how much data there is on a daily basis, it's just getting reinvented every day. So we've got that, and then we're also seeing an emergence of first-party data. So our publisher set are becoming forthcoming with their first-party data, seller-defined audiences. So that's a really key one, I think, going into this year. Again, because that's a contextual bucketing based on interest and intent. And then segue into the topics API. It's worth remembering that is also part of the sandbox. It's a contextual play, a bucketing of audiences based on their affinity and intent and interest. So marketers would do well to work with partners that are excelling in that area and testing the privacy sandbox. It's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of collaboration, because this is very new. Index have donated a demo tool to the IAB, so it's worth checking that out. You can just you can have a look at what that auction looks like, and everything is moving to the device from the server, so it's huge shift, and there's going to be a lot of learning coming out of tomorrow. So staying close to partners that are excelling in that area is going to be key really for agencies, marketers.
Thank you so much, Annika. From a Magnite perspective, what implication do you see from the removal of the third party?
Yeah, I mean, it's very much in line with what you said already, but I guess brands now more than ever before see the importance of getting access to data, right? They might have their own data sets, they might not. And they're kind of looking left and right to the platforms that have data at scale. So what you mentioned before is like in the industry, we do see a shift in power from the demand side to the supply side to where first-party cookies are. So I think publishers are very much in a position to successfully drive the future of addressability and identity, because publishers are the source for high-quality consented data. So what that means for SSPs like ourselves is then we need to make sure we protect the publisher's data and come up with solutions to share that with the demand side. And that's why I think that in 2024 we'll see like massive investments and developments in the field of privacy-enhancing technologies, because we need those to actually use that first-party data in a privacy-compliant way. So think about like buzzword clean rooms.
Yes.
We're building a clean room because there's so much value behind having first-party advertiser data, pairing it with first-party publisher data, outcomes a segment, you can target that.
Yeah.
But even as if you don't have your own data as an advertiser, you know, there's ID solutions, there's contextual targeting, seller-defined audiences is really, I think, where the focus is going to be on, because again, publishers have the data, we can categorize that, feed it into a commonly agreed upon taxonomy which exists, and then provide the targeting at scale. And if I may just throw in one more buzzword which we've heard of before.
Yes, please.
Is retail media, because one of the drivers for retail media is the reliance on first-party cookies. Now we have these retailers who have that one-on-one relationship with the customers who have access to that data. So what happens then if we as an SSP come in and we enable them and their clients to use that data within their ecosystem, but also expand programmatically? Now that's then when we have a situation again where we get relevant and audiences at scale that our brands can target.
Absolutely. So certainly the ID solutions are in the works, but what alternatives do we have, Cadi, from a contextual perspective, for example?
I think it's quite interesting. We already heard quite a bit about context this morning. I mean,
Yes.
I came in this morning and immediately bumped into two people who I started my journey with in Programmatic 15 years ago.
Okay.
And when we were doing these panels
Community.
15 years ago, we were trying to sell the benefits of one-to-one marketing on the internet rather than contextual. So I think it's really interesting to see that we're sort of coming full circle. Why do I think we have been on that journey? I mean, there's obviously the sort of moves that are coming around user privacy and thinking much more about what rights we have with regard to user data. But I think the reason that I'm really excited about context is I think the journey we've all been on as the internet has kind of become mainstream is this sort of democratization of content. Content is there on the internet for everyone. It's easily discoverable by anyone who has a phone, a basic thing. And so I think context is now much more of a reliable signal of interest than pretty much anything else. I mean, historically, you would get briefs from agencies with socioeconomic backgrounds, but that's nowadays that's somewhat irrelevant. You can be from any socioeconomic background, you can be from any walk of life and be interested in a particular thing. I'll give the example just about 13 years ago, I got divorced. I was 30. Every other woman I know had just had a baby or was just getting married. Everywhere I went on the internet, I was getting ads for wedding venues. I was getting ads for like baby stuff. And I had disposable income. I had money to spend. I wanted to go on a luxury yoga retreat. I wanted to get ads that were relevant to me and my interests and the context that I was looking at, not simply my demographic features. And because we're not all the same, and so it's just sorry, I know it's sample size one, but I think we've all been there where there are elements of our personality, of our interests that don't necessarily correspond to our socioeconomic, demographic status, and so I think that's really the journey that context has been on, and us understanding context better. I think when we talk about context as an industry, though, we've sort of talked a lot about publisher data. And I seem to think that's like, right, this person has seen this many pages of the cookery section of our website in the last month, and this person has been to this many sort of sports pages. I think what's also interesting, particularly in the context of YouTube, where Pixability specialise, is really also the context of the wider environment. If I get home and my toilet is flowing over with water, I'm not a plumber. I really have very minimal plumbing skills. I'm going to get my mobile out. I'm going to go to YouTube and I'm going to find a video on which will tell me how on earth I can switch off the water going into my toilet so there's no water coming out. I have no plumbing issues, just in case anyone's judging me here. So I think in that scenario, I am stressed. I'm on my mobile phone and I'm watching an instructional video. So thinking about context, not just as, you know, I'm not just someone who's interested in plumbing. I'm not watching on my TV, learning and trying to educate myself to become a plumber. I've got an emergency situation that I need to deal with. And I think thinking about those two different contexts, not only from the content perspective, but also the environment, the device, the time of day, so many other signals that we do still have access to without cookies, I think is really important. And so I think that's the sort of journey, thinking about context a bit differently. That was a really long answer.
But that was a very, very interesting and relevant. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So, but then one benefit of the shifting away from the cookies is that we're seeing the rise of alternative channels, right? And so one of these is programmatic digital out of home. So, Carrie, do you see the advancement targeting capability of programmatic digital out of home influencing the future of trends in advertising?
Definitely, and because of the reasons everyone's been mentioning this morning and today in this panel right now, programmatic digital out of home has already increased the past few years and it's predicted to continue to grow. And I think because one of its main strengths is contextual targeting. You mentioned there's some different trigger-based data that you can use. You can use location, time-based events, weather, to programmatically bid for these screens and create this relevant advertising based on the environment around it. So take, for example, a travel company. They can use a weather forecast in a destination, say Mallorca, and they can show it on our screens during our crummy, boring commutes here in London and show you when the weather's enticing in Mallorca. You're like, yes, I'd rather be there. And then another topic actually mentioned earlier this morning that I wanted to touch on too is creatives. So you can also add another layer of personalization, and that's through dynamic creative optimization. So add even more personalization. So for another example, take maybe a food online delivery service. So they can use data, figure out which neighborhoods are most relevant to bid for in London, but then they can also use data to inform and to optimize their messaging and their creative to change it based on which restaurants are actually open at that time, creating more of that relevant in the moment desire, adding more relevance. All of this is adding better engagement, better brand recall, better call to action, more likelihood for them to respond. Another thing about programmatic digital out of home, and as we're going through this transitionary period right now, and Chris mentioned, I think earlier in another panel, a lot of it is a little bit reactive. We've known about this for a few years, but also it's been pushed back for a few years as well. I think people are starting to reevaluate their brand marketing budgets and their performance marketing budgets because we don't exactly know all the targeting possibilities in the future, their measurement possibilities. Programmatic digital at home, such a mouthful sometimes, and other similar channels like CTV, there are actually these really unique channels that address both brand marketing and performance marketing. You can reach mass audiences at scale, these reach through traditional broadcast advertising channels, but now you can also have the granularity, the targeting capabilities, the measurement capabilities as traditional digital performance channels. So it's very unique.
I'm going to push this further. So is omnichannel then a trend that, you know, you're seeing, everyone's seeing? Do you have any examples?
I just don't even think it's a trend anymore. I think it's like just how it is. You know, if you take YouTube, it reaches 92% of the UK. It's the biggest streaming platform on TVs after iPlayer. You know, but it's also on every device. I think trying to give a bit of an example, we did some work with our partners at Total Media for a pet care brand, and we were able to tell them what sort of content people are looking for on YouTube, where there are content gaps, where they need help looking after their animals and there just isn't enough information. But again, they could think about how they used YouTube across all of the different channels. So that the content they serve on mobile devices could be very, very different. You know, if I get home, my cat's sick, I need very, very different information versus where I'm just generally thinking about a brand that I would want to look after my, use to look after my cat. So it's that different environments, different messaging, but users use these platforms across all of their devices. Yeah. So why on earth would a brand not think about engaging across
it's
every
the way
channel?
that the average consumer is shifting across platform and channels. And Grazia, we can't have a panel around programmatic without obviously thinking about programmatic and AI and machine learning and how the two things are impacted. What are your do you have first of all any examples, but how the two things are going to change the way we work?
I personally think that is not gonna completely change, because like at Kines or any other company, we have been using like AI and machine learning for many, many years now. But I think now we are really realizing the impact that is having on a daily basis and how it can be extended across like everything we do. So I think from a programmatic perspective, there are like really unlimited approaches that programmatic can have with AI, because it's going to help like in an efficient way to reach the audiences and giving them like a better experience. Mm-hmm. So I think like let's think about like we chat about the audiences. Like AI can analyze a vast amount of data regarding the consumers in a very quick time, and can support to segment these users and create a very bespoke audiences. And programmatic can, of course, and the creative can create like a very good content, bespoke content for those. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be like most likely that these are going to convert. They are going to become consumers. So I think like brand are very interested at the moment to the cost-efficient way of running programmatic and running all the channels. Yeah. And I think this is where AI is going to be like a game changer. And when I think about cost-efficient, I don't think just like brands are going to start spending less. I actually think they're going to spending more, but they're going to be able to get more ROAS, more ROI of what they are doing, which also means that they're going to be able to unlock some opportunities, innovative programmatic solution that maybe they're not doing now because they're afraid of the risk of they don't have enough budget. So I think like from programmatic perspective, it's literally like is unlocking so many opportunities that like we are going to see it like in 5 years time. We're going to just like sit here and say, oh wow, that is what happened like in 5 years. So
do you think that could be then the solutions to the inefficiencies highlighted by Diana's report? Is that my mic? I'm not sure. Do you think so then AI could be a solution to the inefficiencies highlighted by Diana's report that was just released before Christmas? Or
yeah, it can be this, but there are different kind of inefficiencies, like inefficiency even in the agencies level, like not having like people are having to analyze so many data. Mm-hmm. So like that is like a saving in time. And I kind of agree with Josh before about being worried about what AI can do. I don't think AI is gonna like be like a new human. Like we're gonna always be having like people working, but just like a different kind of skill set that maybe we don't see at the moment. Mm-hmm. So I think like, and people that are currently analyzing tons of data, not even see the kind of a crossover between this data, are going to be free to like optimizing the campaign, talking to our clients and discussing with the different partners.
Be more strategic,
understanding the different like omnichannel. We talk about omnichannel, like I think like there has been like a big change, like now we kind of understand the different peculiarities of the channel that we are using, and we know based on our KPI what we should use. It's not just one, it's like all of them. So I think that is where like AI is going to also help.
Yeah, someone touched upon that on one of the previous panels about AI and machine learning doing the stuff in the background. You don't necessarily see it happening. Yeah. And exchanges like Index process billions of auctions daily. It's a lot of data. There's thousands of publishers, thousands of buyers. So it's going to help with the stuff that humans can't do. It's going to help with optimizations. It can help with pricing. There's a whole host of things that are already being built into exchanges. So that's really going to be the integral bit of AI, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Cadi, I think we would be amiss to wrap up the panel without talking about sustainability. So we know that programmatic advertising can be linked to output in terms of energy carbon footprint. How can we ensure that programmatic industry supports those type of goal?
I think all of the panelists here can speak to this a little bit, and I'd love to hear sort of different perspectives as well. I think if I start at very top level, just to sort of summarise, you're entirely right. We work in a carbon intensive industry, in creating carbon. I think the main things that everyone in this room should be doing is thinking about measuring to start with, and then reducing their carbon. And I think the ways that I like to think about it is thinking about what creative you're running, where you're running it, and how it is getting to where it's getting. And that goes for programmatic out of home just as it goes for CTV and YouTube, or anything else that we're running. I think at Pixability we have a new partnership we're about to announce. I don't know if it's trade press, but won't say it now. But again, effectively helping us to go on that journey with our brands. But I'm sure there's more going on at other partners as well.
Yeah, I think from our perspective, we're also working with different partners in the industry to measure it and see what we can do, creating like greener marketplaces. But I think just looking at the work I do with like big advertisers, John, what you mentioned before, like within this ecosystem, we have so many players, right? So now what everybody does is SPO, like we want to optimize our supply path, which ultimately might mean we need to cut out partners, because we understand that if we activate 50 SSPs in our ad exchange, that has a different impact than if you have like your top 5. So I think this is apart from like the initiatives we're driving as a company as well, that's very much what I see and what the answer of advertisers is to the topic of like, well, we need to make sure our emissions are like in check and we're part of a sustainability initiative.
Absolutely. I think it's definitely something that we need to also think about, the incrementality and the case by case. Okay, fantastic. I'm not sure how are we with time. Yes, so we have one question from the audience. Okay,
yeah, we have many.
Oh, lots. Okay.
Well, we have time for one. So the question is, which post-cookie ID solution provider are going to see the fastest growth and market traction in 2024? That's a harsh one.
I could jump in. I mean, I don't think we know. We just don't know. There's a whole host of authenticated and non-authenticated solutions. I think in Europe, the authenticated IDs, they've not picked up as much traction from my understanding. So we are reliant on those contextual, the non-authenticated stuff, because that's where the scale is. But that's just this point in time. Predicting the future, I mean, couldn't say any more.
Any other question? Or
just to add on to that, I think there's
amazing.
tons of providers out there. One thing that I'm interested to see is the rise of composable MarTech stacks, and the ability to take the best in class from different vendors and make a more flexible solution, so you don't just have to rely on just one.
Yes, absolutely. Well, let me first of all thank you very much. That was very insightful. I would, connect it, and would love to, to hear more. I think 2024 will be a transformational year, because we have two main things happening, and of course cookieless, and the other one is AI. And so definitely more, to chat about and stay connected. But yeah, thank you very much for
Thank you.
the panel.